Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of A God Shift. I am your host, Shayna Rattler. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, though, I need a favor from you. So wherever you are listening to this episode, I want you to take a screenshot, whether it's on your phone, your laptop, your computer, whatever. Take a screenshot and post it on your social media. When you do, I would love it if you would tag us here at A God Shift. And then from there, I just want to hear your biggest aha moment or your biggest takeaway from this episode. I do that because it is really my mission to make sure that whatever it is that people are going through, that they recognize that there is hope on the other side of that, and that there's God in the middle of that. And the more times that these episodes are shared, the more people that we can make sure that we are helping in that way. I am going to read my guest bio. We have had a little bit of a snag in getting on this recording for the last couple of weeks. So I just think that that means that this interview is going to be exceptional. So here we go. My guest today is a man that has spent decades trying to find solutions to the world's greatest problems and even the answer to the question, what is God? Because of a religious experience he had when he was only 18 years old, where a seemingly simple prayer turned into a conversation with the voice that answered, and his request for a purpose in life that was answered with two very distinct purposes. After decades of thought and planning, he is working to accomplish those goals with the building of the foundation of a new world. I want to welcome to the show, Christopher Ellingsworth.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So, Christopher, before we get into the story of what it is that you've gone through to get to where you are today, I just want to lay a little bit of context for this conversation. So, this conversation is all about a God shift. And my definition of a God shift is the moment a disruption in your life collides with God's purpose, but then that moves you into greater possibility. I believe that God uses disruptions, these unexpected circumstances, these things that we didn't plan, these challenges, even if they're positive challenges, that he uses those things to get our attention. Once he has our attention, then that's when he can really invite us into the life that he has planned for us. So I'm really interested in hearing if you can share a time with the audience that you've actually had to overcome some form of disruption in order to get to where it is that you are today.
Let's see. I think that there's in some way the answer to that would be that the time that I actually did have the prayer, it had begun with, I suppose, a depressing time. I mean, I was young, 18, whatever I was going through seemed the end of the world at the time. I'm guessing.
Of course it did.
Yeah, I mean,
That girlfriend that you thought you were going to love forever, and you probably don't even remember her name.
yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So that is actually what had led me to, honestly, I still can't even explain it. Just suddenly drop to my knees and pray to God for a purpose in life.
Yeah.
I mean, just a little bit of depression, just for whatever reason, not liking where my life was going and not seeing anything good in my life. I decided to do that. And the conversation that came out, honestly, it's a bit much for everyone. And it sounds crazy. It sounds too much. And honestly, I guess you would say it probably is too much, but what I actually got out of it were two purposes that were the greatest I could have been given. Now the only problem is I've been working on for the past 20 years is how to actually accomplish them. It's a difficult task. As far as in my bio, talking to you about being able to reveal the truth of God to you, I could do that to you right now within a few minutes, but to really explain would take quite a long time. And the unfortunate part is to explain to you what the truth is, you also have to explain what the truth isn't.
Right.
Which causes a problem with a lot of people because, of course, you're telling them they're wrong about some aspect. I'm not saying that God is wrong or that your belief in God is wrong, but I would be saying that there's a detail here and a detail here that isn't quite right. And some people really love those details. So it's been a very difficult journey as far as that one aspect has gone.
So let me ask you, so you find yourself in a depressing time in life, and as a result of that, you turn to God and you're like, what the heck is going on? Who do you want me to be? What do you want me to do? Like, what is the purpose of this? What is my purpose in life? and he answers you in what way?
Well, I guess initially with the first thing that happened was when I asked God for a purpose in life and a reason to live, I simply heard a voice in my head. It asked, "What purpose would you want?" And
Mm,
that is what
co-created with you,
the what?
right? He co-created with you. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know if I put it that way. I just know that,
Because he asked your response to me was he asked you, what purpose do you want?
yes,
So my point in that is that so oftentimes we rely on just what God can do, not recognizing that God really wants to partner with us and he wants to co-create. It's not just about him doing everything for us and us sitting back and waiting idly to see what he's going to do in our lives. We actually have a role to play in his will for his life, in his will for our lives. And it's not just about how great he is and all the things that he can do, but it's almost like when you jump out of a parachute, until you're experienced, you go tandem with an instructor. It's kind of the same way with God. Like he's not going to just do everything for us. He actually wants to co-create with us. He actually wants to partner with us, and recognizing that you have a role in the relationship and he has a role in the relationship. So he didn't just say to you, you know what, Christopher, here's your purpose. This is how it's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. And I'll let you know when we're there. He actually asked you to come alongside him and say, I want your input, not that I need it, but I want your input. And I actually want you to be like an active participant in this thing called purpose.
absolutely. Um, I think part of it was too a test.
Mm,
I mean, yeah, you find it quite often. People would call out to God and ask for things. They want something, right? Most people want to better themselves or to become better, bigger, and this and that and the other. And with mine, it was really, I guess, the first thing that came to mind was if this was a real conversation, if I was actually talking to God, what would be worthy of that conversation? What
mm,
would be worthy of asking God?
yeah.
Um, that I had thought to all the religions and them bickering and arguing and fighting and killing each other and all the people who don't believe anymore, and then stuff that doesn't sound real to some people, so they leave religion altogether. So clearly the truth about God would be an important part to help try to bring these people together and give them peace and actually bring an end to the fighting. So that's what I asked for, was the truth about God.
Yeah. And what would you say you learned?
Oh, it took me about 9 months to figure it out after the prayer, but that God, the spirit, it doesn't exist somewhere far away. It's right here, right in front of you, right all around you. It is your creator. It is not the creator of existence. It exists within existence. It's been right in front of you the whole time. It's actually the biggest secret that's like blasted all through the Bible that no one caught. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe God didn't want us to find out too early, but it's right there in front of our eyes that our creator, the everlasting life, the everlasting living one, is actually what we might consider to be one of the simplest of all things. Um, do you want the answer?
Do you
Do you want to know what the answer to the simple riddle is?
I do want the answer. And I also want to know not what just did you learn about God during this process, but when you're coming out of some level of adversity and entering into what it is that God has for you. I'm also interested in hearing what you learned about yourself.
I uh, I learned that I was born to do this. The two purposes I asked for, the first, of course, was the truth about God. The second was the purpose that was asked of me. Um,
Mhm.
that was if I knew what, I guess the great evil would be the simplest way to put it. If I knew what it was, would I destroy it? Which,
Yeah.
of course, I thought was impossible, but I went along with it. And sure, short story, short version of the story. So I went along with it. And what I learned about that is actually what is the greatest evil of the world? What is the greatest evil of our time? And what is actually threatening to destroy the world? And how to, of course, do something about it. And what I learned about myself, like I said, is this is the job I was born to play. There's signs in my name, my mother's name, my father's name, my date of birth, the zodiac symbol of my birth. Um, my birthday itself has many holidays, one of which is the day of the beatific vision, which is the supposed to be those who have divine knowledge of God, who have seen God's face, the truth about God, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other one would be All Saints Day, and that is supposed to be the day that, you know, how Halloween is the day where the evil spirits come out at night. All
Correct.
Saints Day is the next day. The saints come out and chase away the evil spirits. So
Correct.
literally the two purposes that I was given in that conversation are reflected by the day I was born and the holidays that are named on it is November 1st. I mean, how could I accidentally come up with that? I can't. My name is actually part of, I mean, if you actually look at the translation of my name and my mother's name and so on and so forth, there's so many things I've learned over these past 20 years because I asked for signs. Was this real? Was this real? Am I, you know, was I talking to myself? You know, you try to tell people, they just think you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I really had to go through a lot of the self-reflection. And like I said, eventually the signs that I found, because I kept asking for signs. So the signs that I found over the years were that the ones I was born with.
Yeah. I looked up a scripture. If you wondered why I was looking down, I was looking up a scripture while you were talking, because when you talked about the fact that one of the primary things that you learned about yourself was that you were actually built for this, that you were actually born for this, it made me think about Ephesians 2:10. And in the New Living Translation, it says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the things he planned for us long ago." And so for all of the people that I speak to that don't think they're qualified for what it is that God is calling them to do, if they just don't think that they're ready, you know, like you find people that every time you talk to them, it seems like they're getting ready to get ready to get ready, and they're never really in the doing of it. I always point them to that scripture that God has actually already put in you a long time ago what it was that you were going to need for what it was that he was going to ask you to do. Sometimes we just have to go through a process in order for that to be revealed. But to your point, everything you need, you already have. So I that's why I really wanted to, I couldn't remember exactly what the scripture says, but that just kept ringing in my mind. Like, no, whatever it is that God is asking us to do, whoever it is that he's asking us to become, you're already ready for that. It's in your DNA. My friend says that DNA stands for distinct natural abilities. So I love the fact that you were like, I didn't even have to question it. I was able to recognize that the purpose that God has for me, that I'm actually born for this. I'm actually built for this. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want us to talk a little bit more about the truths that you have discovered and actually give some people some tips and advice on how they can kind of navigate these waters, if you will. We'll be right back. Episode is brought to you by the free guide When God Says Shift. Inside, you'll discover the 4 shifts required to reveal God's plan, to ditch disruption or delay, and get his blessings faster. Head to GodSaysShift.com to access it now. So, Christopher, I want to go back a little bit before we go forward. So, I said at the top of the episode that God uses disruption in our lives. He uses unexpected circumstances to actually be able to get our attention. And he uses that as an invitation to invite us into exactly what it is that he has planned for our lives. One of the things that I recognize in dealing with people and listening to people's stories is that even though God uses what he uses in our lives as a tool to actually move us closer to what it is that he has for us, so oftentimes that is the very thing that actually ends up making us stuck. And so if someone is listening to this episode right now, I want you to what would be some advice that you could give them? Think back to the journey that you were on and how you really saw yourself coming through that journey. What would be the advice that you would give someone that if they are experiencing some level of disruption in their life, that this is one thing that they could start doing right away that will really propel them forward and not allow that to be something that really keeps them stuck?
Mm, I don't know on that one. Sometimes you have to keep on going even when it's hard and you might not know there's a way to overcome. You go on anyway, and if you don't think you have the strength but you just keep going, you'll find that you did.
Yeah, I heard somebody once say, I threw in the towel. I tried to throw in the towel and God threw it back. So it's like, it's okay for you to feel like you don't have the strength to keep going, but you have to have some level of connection to something that makes you want to get up every morning, that makes you want to say, I want the devil to be like, oh crap, she's up. Like I have down days, but I'm going to continue to press forward because every single day that I take a step, even if that step is laced with uncertainty, that step is actually going to get me closer and closer to what the end goal of our destiny, our purpose, our whatever you want to call it. And so I love that. Like, how did you find ways to keep going even on days that you probably didn't feel like it?
Music.
Mm.
Music, driving here, there, to and from work, so on and so forth over the years, with answers to problems and answers to questions that people want, but they don't want to hear it from you because you're nobody. So there's a lot of depression that comes with that. Music was a big one for me because you can hear people calling out for help, crying about problems, crying out for hope, even though they won't take it from you if you showed your face to them, but they're calling out for hope. And I guess they're kind of like a muse for me. I have been for a long time. When everything else might seem hopeless, listen to the music, and a lot of people are singing, hoping for the very change that you're trying to bring. It's just a matter of finding the way to actually do it.
I like that you said music. That's not an answer that most of my guests have said, but I like that you said music because as you're talking, I recognize that for myself, when I am going through something or there's a decision that I'm trying to make or there's a challenge that I have, I tend to hear things in songs that I don't hear when all is well. I tend to listen to the lyrics more when I'm experiencing something in my life versus when all is well. It's almost like it's just a beat, it's just words, and the words don't necessarily resonate with me, and I don't necessarily always get the message that I think is intended from the song as when things go well. So I really like that you said that. And so if you're listening to this right now, I want you to start being more intentional about the music that you listen to, especially if you're listening to the radio and you don't know what song they're going to play next, because I believe that God can even use that form of messaging to get his message to you when you are seeking him for answers. So, Christopher, before we get ready to wrap up, speaking of answers, I want you to talk a little bit more about the work that you're doing at the Foundation of a New World, because your journey started off with asking God a question during a prayer. He gave you some answers, and now you've spent the last 20 years of your life in this work. So tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing and why it's important.
Okay. If you were to sum up the vast majority of the problems that the world is having right now, you can find a single common denominator that is causing them all. It's the hollow metal that I was told about during this conversation. It's gold. It's our money. The image of that money is our dollar. Now, I know it might seem like a simple response, but when it comes to our money, you have to understand, like, okay, if you are concerned about poverty and exploitation, our money does nothing to actually address these issues. Our money it's valueless. So we're easily exploited, easily pushed towards poverty. And it's been going on the history of our entire society.
Hmm.
Um, when it comes to, let's just say, climate change, this is actually an easy one. There is a massive conflict of interest as far as between us destroying the world and us saving it. There's this massive conflict of interest when it comes to our money. First, we're a job dependent society because we're exploited. We're made to be in suffering and poverty, or just made to work our entire lives. Well, you need to be employed your entire lives. So you need to produce things. If I produce something for you that lasts longer, more efficient or more effective, I don't need to sell as many. You don't need your job as long. Well, that's a conflict of interest. It
Correct.
became we have been for quite a long time, where they're designing everything to fail to, one, keep jobs, two, keep the money coming in, and three, this is the second head of the snake when it comes to the conflict of interest, is our GDP. For anyone who doesn't understand or know what GDP is, it's your country's gross domestic product.
Hmm.
And the way it is measured and the way it's set up is you have to produce more every year and you have to sell more every year. And there's a lot of details in it, but in short, the GDP system, the way it is, everything that's good for you and everything that's good for the world is bad for GDP. GDP is the total of a country's gross domestic product, everything that is sold in a country, for the entire year. Now, then, that has to go up every single year. So if I make something for you that lasts longer, it's bad for GDP. If
Correct.
I find, let's say, if I find out that there's a plant that you can eat and it will cure cancer, that is billions upon billions of dollars per year that will be lost to your country's GDP. What this does, it doesn't just lose the GDP, you're actually devaluing your currency. You're in a situation where it's actually a threat to your country if you cure cancer. It's a threat to the economic health of the country. And there are many that would say, well, if our economy goes down, we can't support our military. So it's a military threat. So we might have to actually combat this cure. That is the type of situation you're living in right now. So, and I've learned this is what I've learned over the past 20 years. And I've also learned the solution. It is an economic system that I've had to design over the past 20 years. It is called the hour. And the hour is designed to first, it is designed to protect you from exploitation, to curb greed in the way that you are allowed to be greedy, but the truth is shown, in essence, curbing greed. No one's going to want to go buy a house if they know that the people who are selling it are just profiteering off of it, and they're going to spend the rest of their lives just so somebody can make a quick buck. People aren't going to want to do that in our society today. That's just the way it is, and everyone works till, they basically fall over unless they have something where they can actually retire, which most people don't. So the first part, it protects us from exploitation, allowing us to be a freer society. The second part is it changes the valuation system of currency itself. And by doing so, you get rid of that GDP conflict of interest, where things that are made better are actually a threat to your country. They're a threat to your GDP. They're a threat to your economic health. So basically, what this system would do if it were to get put in place right now, today, where everything is getting worse, things would slowly start to get better, where the government isn't motivated to do anything about companies that make cell phones or can openers or anything, cars, and they're making them to fail prematurely so they can sell it next year. Well, right now,
Yeah.
your government is motivated to support this behavior. If this were put in place today, the system, well, guess what? Your government might actually have motivation to, instead of supporting this behavior, to change the behavior, to stop the behavior. Planned obsolescence is not a new thing. It's been going on for quite a long time. It's known. If you go to engineering school, the engineers will tell you it's being done. So my plan is to build the foundation of a new world. Right now, it is a nonprofit. It is a nonprofit with the goal of building a small scale city for those in need and putting the system into place to show the world how you can accomplish these tasks, how you can save the environment, end poverty, all at the same time, how you can accomplish actual freedom Freedom, liberty, and independence is something that we've been preached to our entire lives in this country,
Yeah.
yet we do not
But
entertain
there's
any
no evidence
mention
of it.
of economic freedom. We are economically in debt. We are economically owed to someone else. We're nowhere near free, liberated, or independent when it comes to our money. We're on a chain and a leash. So, of course, this is what the foundation of New World is designed to. And should we succeed in building this city and show the world that this actually works, and the world starts to follow it, then the foundation of a New World literally goes from being a small nonprofit with a catchy name to the foundation of a new world, a foundation upon the new world, or which the new world can build upon to actually change and progress forward. So if you would like to know more, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was literally just having this conversation with someone last night. Audience probably doesn't know this, but Christopher knows this, that I just moved last week. And I had someone over to the house last night that was putting together some of the furniture that had way too many pieces for me to attempt. Another story for another day. But anyway, I was just having this exact same conversation with him last night. I said, the very people and the very things that should be in place to support us and help us are the ones that are creating the systems that are destroying us. And we use some of these exact examples. I said, you're not going to tell me. And what got us started on this conversation was that it had been a long time since I bought a mattress. I didn't know that when you buy mattresses nowadays that they're rolled up in a very small coil and then it pops open to become a king size mattress. And I said, you're not going to tell me that we have the technology to do all of these amazing things that we can do now with artificial intelligence. We can put people on the moon. We can do all of these things, yet we can't find a cure for diabetes. We can't find a cure for hypertension. I said, you're not going to convince me of that. I said, you're not going to convince me that you can make this phone that can literally do everything for me that I can do for myself, but you can't make it so that it lasts more than 2 days before the next version comes out. So I just find it really interesting, the timing of this conversation, that I was literally just talking about this last night, that the cause and effect of everything that we are seeing in our world today, not even talking about the spiritual things that we're seeing in our world today that is just tearing us down, the things against the things of God that are tearing us down, that the world is just accepting as like this new, improved, best way of doing things. It's just, I never thought that I would see ourselves get in a situation where it's as bad as it is. And so I'm glad to see that there's somebody that's finally doing something the heck about it.
Give you some words that I was given. This was at the end of the conversation. I was told the devil is nothing more than a hollow metal, for all his promises are as hollow and empty as he is.
Wow.
That is really what led me to the answer of what is our problem. And as far as the spiritual side of it, I remember going to church as a child, and they always said like the devil wanted to destroy God, but can't. So the devil wants to destroy God's creation, which is the earth and mankind. And what's literally happening today is, in the name of that hollow metal, we are destroying this planet. We are destroying God's creation.
Yeah.
God creates organic life. He doesn't create existence. Existence is existence. He
Correct.
exists within it. He creates organic life, and we are destroying every last bit of it in the name of a hollow metal that has promised us wealth and everything else. But what does it give us? It's a rock. I'm sorry, it's a pretty shiny rock.
Yeah. It happens to be cute, but it's a rock.
It's a rock. And we have based our entire society on this. And now we are destroying the world because, hey, we need more of this rock. Well, we don't have the rock anymore because we can't all keep the rock. So now we have the image of this rock, which is a dollar bill or a ruple or whatever. They're all based on this very same concept. And literally it's happening right before our eyes. We are destroying the world in the name of what I was told was the beast, which
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to stop. And if any of you out there could help, even in the smallest possible way, please go to the www.thefoundationofanewworld.com. You can help out, you can donate, you can share videos, subscribe, share on social media, help get this message out. That is what is getting me held back right now. It's just a matter of reaching the people on large scale, telling them there is an answer to these problems, showing them that it is real. The problems you're having are because there's a massive conflict of interest. doing better is worse for
Yeah.
your money. Us becoming better as a human society is bad for money. And it's the design of our money. There will still be a type of currency, but it would be a different type of currency that is designed not to have these problems. You can find out more about it again at www.thefoundationofnewworld.com.
And where can they find you on social media?
There's Facebook, there's Twitter. I mean, I have a Tumblr, YouTube as well. If you go to the website, there's links on all the pages to take you to the social media accounts.
Perfect. And I will make sure that those links are in the show notes so that all you have to do is click it. Christopher, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for shedding the light on what needs to be a much needed conversation. People need to stop thinking that people like you are conspiracy theorists. People need to stop thinking that people like you are just off on some crazy tangent. And I love that you gave these real world practical examples that people cannot. They can't fight against that data. They can't fight against the fact that this doggone phone stops working 2 days before the next thing comes out. They can't argue with the fact that there's so much technology and so many advancements in the world, but yet the things that are keeping us sick every single day are still keeping us sick. So I love the fact that you're shedding the light on this and you're using data that people can grasp, whether they believe what we believe, whether they think like we think. You're giving them things that are right in front of their face that if you don't see it, then you need to pray and ask God to open your eyes of understanding and give you eyes to see and ears to hear, because there is an agenda at work all around us. And I love what you said, that becoming better is bad for the, what did you say?
For our currency, our GDP
Yeah.
system, yeah, our currency. You
Yeah.
devalue the currency.
So becoming better is bad for the world that we live in, but that's not the way that God intends it. And so I'm thankful for you and the work that you're doing. Everyone, please go to the website, get the resources, learn more, share this, donate. Chris, I believe that you are committed and not just interested. And one of the things that I know about the way that God works is that when we're committed, all of the resources and everything that we need shows up. And so I'm excited to see what it is that you continue to create. So everyone, thank you for being here. I hope this episode has blessed you like it has blessed me. Share, share, share. Go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.